Hello, hello, everybody. Let me see. Good. So, hello, everybody. Thank you for joining me or watching this whenever you may be watching this. This class or talking about this was way overdue, and somebody mentioned that they wanted to hear my story last week. And my goal right now is to come on here and share things that all of you want to know. So, a couple of things. In this video, I'm going to be sharing my story of my weight loss journey, my story with mental health, which actually reminds me. My story with mental health and everything that has to do with that. And I know that many people have experienced something similar or may experience something similar, but remember, this is just my story, okay? So it doesn't mean you have to deal with it in this way. It doesn't mean that it's necessarily the right way or that there's no other ways. This is what personally worked for me. And let me see. Okay, here we go. So just for those of you that may not know me, I am Luciana, the Emotional Mastery Coach. I am an ordained Buddhist priest from the Mahashriya Buddhist tradition. I have a background in holistic psychology, and I have lost over 80 pounds learning to master my emotions. So that's something that I share with people because it's something that helps people relate, and now we're finally going to talk about it. I've been working for the last 7 years teaching people how to practice emotional integration. And I always like to add, I am a mom and I am a human, just learning like everybody else from life. Due to the fact that I am talking about mental health and eating disorders, I did want to add a disclaimer that the information and everything I will be providing here is just for educational purposes. Never, ever, ever use information like this to change your medication, to stop taking medication, to substitute it for professional help. Never do that. And remember, this is just my personal story. It's not necessarily wrong or right. It's just what I experience. So let's just get right into it. I won't lie, I am feeling a little bit nervous, a little bit vulnerable, simply because I find that through this story, I lived some of the most difficult moments in my life. So it's interesting what I'm feeling inside. So why talk about emotions and weight? Because I know that when many people talk about generally about weight, either being overweight, being underweight, or whatever it may be, not everybody always connects it with emotions. It's more about like, just get your life together, stop being lazy, start working out and change your diet and just get over it. Like a lot of the times we don't bring the right amount of attention of how emotions play a role in all of this. So I always like to explain that emotions are just energy in motion, energy in movement, and seeing emotions in this way helps us remove the stigma of them being something bad or negative or that they make us weak. And I made a video last week talking about that if you want to watch it. But I wanted to talk about a specific parts of the connection between emotions and weight. A lot of the times we may gain weight. And remember, right now we're focusing on being overweight, being obese, and losing weight. But this may also happen being underweight, not wanting to eat. So the other extreme or anything in between can also be, something that may come up for many people. But for me, it was the way in how we want to deny what we feel, especially from ourselves. Like, for example, I have emotions, I don't want to deal with them, so I put weight on. So now I'm overweight. For me, and these are some of the things that I experience, is I want to deny what I feel, and not only from the world, because sometimes we don't mind the world knowing how we feel, or sometimes we're very obvious with how we feel, sometimes in certain ways, and it's not even about others. We want to deny to ourselves what we feel. So it's almost like I don't want to pay attention to what's there. Let me hide, which is the second one. I don't want to be seen. I want to hide behind my weight. So I don't want to see it myself. Let me hide behind it. Also, for many people, sometimes we find ourselves overweight because we want to take our place in the world, but we are afraid. So we are afraid of speaking our mind. We are afraid of making decisions. We're simply afraid, ashamed, or even prideful of taking our place in the world through what's inside of us, that we become overweight to ensure that we will take our place in the world, even if it's through literal space. So I'll become bigger physically, so that way when I'm in the room, I'm taking space, even though I'm not taking my place, by just being me and speaking up. And lastly, for some people, is that we feel deep abandonment and we feel like we have a void, like something inside me is constantly missing something, even if the story in your life is positive. And this is where things get very interesting when it comes to this whole topic. Because it doesn't mean, when you hear about emotions and weight, people assume like, well, probably she went through something very hard or very tough. But sometimes things in your life are great, but there's still a lot of emotions that are not necessarily related to something that's happening. Sometimes it's your inner relationship with yourself. And if there's a lot of abandonment, it's very easy to feel like I need to fill that void. So these are some of the reasons of why I wanted to talk about it. It's, we want to deny what we feel from ourselves. We don't want to be seen, or we want to be seen and take our place in the world, but we don't do it. Or lastly, we feel so much abandonment that we just want to continue to feel the void and we don't know what to do with it. So food seems like a good option. The main reason why food is a good option to deal with emotions is because it touches on a lot of core things that no other thing can give us. Well, food and anything that you can probably consume. So probably also alcohol, drugs, and anything like that. But right now we're just talking about food. So food represents nourishment and survival. This means you need food to survive. This means you need it every single day. So automatically, that is one of the main reasons why, when we do not know how to work through our emotions, that it's like an obvious thing to begin to use to cope, because we need it. The second thing what we use food is because food is something we feel we can control. Regardless of the opinion of anybody, of whoever thinks you should eat a specific way or whatever it may be, you are the one that's gonna grab that and put it in your mouth and choose to like chew it and swallow. You know what I mean? So it gives us this almost like temporary sense of control. And imagine all of the scenarios that I mentioned before, like you're feeling either afraid, you're feeling a lot of abandonment, you're feeling a lot of shame, you want to take your place in the world, but you don't want to be seen. How so many of those emotions make us feel like we have no control. And suddenly it's like, oh, but I can choose what I'm going to have for a snack right now. And it gives us that temporary feeling of I'm in charge. Also, food gives us instant gratification. So when we are feeling emotions that are difficult, I like to explain, and let me rephrase that. When we are feeling emotions that are uncomfortable, because emotions are not good or bad. Emotions are experiences that we live. Now, some emotions and some of those experiences are very uncomfortable. Some of them are more comfortable. But when we are feeling a lot of fear, a lot of shame, a lot of abandonment, and all of those emotions, it's very easy to want to get out of it. Like, I just want to feel good, like right now. So when we eat something that we truly enjoy and we experience it with our senses, we get this instant gratification. We receive pleasure, and it connects it to that control of, well, I cannot make this abandonment go away, so let me just eat something that for a moment will make me feel good. Even if you've ever had any issues with food, you know that a lot of the emotion that is very connected with the whole story is a lot of guilt. Even if we get instant gratification for a moment and later we feel guilty, we still rather get it because it makes us feel comfortable. When you have a craving for something and you go and say like, I want a sundae or something, and you go and get it, you feel temporarily in control and you feel you got something that made you feel good. And that is where, for many of us, the addiction started. I don't know how to deal with what I'm feeling, So let me cope. So it's a coping mechanism. And another powerful thing about food is that food really creates identity in many forms, meaning we connect food with many things. Like when it's a birthday, there's a cake. Like we don't think about it a lot of the times, as we just get the cake. We've connected food to a lot of, like also temporarily positive emotional attachments, like celebration, like let's celebrate, let's go out to eat because I just accomplished something really good in my life. And a lot of the times we don't even think about it. Like we don't even think if we want to do that. For example, I don't know if anybody has ever found themselves, especially for us women, like you just go through a breakup or something difficult and you're like, oh, I'm going to go watch a movie and eat ice cream. Why? Like who said, like it became like a cultural thing and now it's like, let's just do it. So it's interesting because it gives us a sense of belonging if you do certain things that other people do with food. And once again, all of these things may give you something that temporarily distract you from the emotions. Okay, so I wanted to explain that. Now, let's get right into my story. I want to share my story with you. And this moment for me is actually very meaningful because I have to be honest with you, it wasn't until recent. I mean, I'm talking about maybe a year ago or even just 2 years ago, where I stopped believing the stories of the person that you're seeing right now here on the screen. So I try to go back and try to find as many pictures as I could. So I'm going to be sharing more, but I want to share with you what I was experiencing during this time. First, letting you know, like kind of planting the story, right? So I grew up overall with a very good childhood. My parents did get divorced, but I was always very loved, very supported. I did not experience any physical abuse, mental, emotional, sexual, or of any way. And things were good. But I also found myself from like being 8 to 9 years old, starting to gain weight and becoming overweight and obese. So I was an obese child, but the story is going to begin more a couple of years before I actually had my daughter. So we're talking 10, 12 years ago. So that is kind of like where I'm going to start. Because before this time, I couldn't even tell you if I wanted to lose weight or if of what it meant. I just lived in a story. But if you would have met me during this time, and some of you did meet me during this time, I was around 290 pounds. I sometimes say I've lost 80 pounds, I've lost 100 pounds. The thing is that I don't remember exactly because I wouldn't weight myself too much. But I do remember the biggest size pants that I used to wear was 28, around 290, close to 300. That was kind of like my highest. And those things, remember, and I'm going to be talking about that later, they really don't matter. But in this case, because we're talking about the point and I want you to get the story, like feel like you understand it, this is the body that I was living in. If you would have met me, like let's say we would have met in college in a class, but what you would have perceived of me is that I was very insecure, afraid, and uncertain. That was the emotion that I constantly felt that I projected or I showed to other people. I was shy and quiet and submissive. If you were my friend, you knew that I could like just like let loose and talk and be wild and everything. But really, when it came to the world, the majority of people, shy, quiet, submissive, for the longest time, and I'm telling you until pretty much like a year ago, I really made it a point to change the way that my posture. But if you would have met me, I probably would have been very hunched, hiding. I didn't want you to see. I don't know if you were able to see in this picture where I'm wearing black. I would always wear black. This one over here where I had pink hair and like a color shirt, that was a very wild day for me because I didn't wear black. Like that was a big deal. That would happen like one time a year. Like it was a big deal for me not to wear black. I always had long sleeve. I don't think you can see it because that was the purpose of wearing black clothes, but I always had a very, very big belly. So I was always carrying a lot of weight in my abdomen. Now that I know that feeling emotions, we usually feel it in this area, all of that fat and all of that weight was me protecting myself from feeling. I didn't want to feel, and that was clear. When it came to how I would act when I would believe this story, I was very sensitive. I would cry easily. I couldn't speak in front of a crowd because I would just start crying. I couldn't have an argument because I would start crying. And I always played the victim. I even thought that I was a victim of my weight gain. So I was playing this role like I'm the victim. Who's at fault? Is it God? Is it the world? Is it my friends or whatever the story that was happening in my life? I always projected it outwards. So that was what was happening on the outside. Now, if I am honest, and I have to tell you, the girl from the last picture didn't know too much of this. But now that I know, I want to mention it because what was actually happening inside is that I was very angry. Angry why? Like, why, Luciana? What happened? And this is when people confuse that every time that you feel an emotion, it's because the story should be attached to it. And it's not always that way. Sometimes it's an accumulation of many little stories that were not big enough to make it to, like, if it was a movie, like they didn't get cut into the movie, but they accumulated into this feeling that then you lingers and you carry for a long time. So I was disappointed and angry, and I was very prideful. Prideful is the emotion like I need to be right. Things need to be my way. So I carried a lot of that pride. That meant if I have a craving, I'm going to have it. If I think somebody did something to me, I'm going to blame them and I'm right. Can you see how pride plays such a big role? Because at that time, I felt that whatever I thought was the ultimate truth and there couldn't be another way. And that kept me locked in a cage, pretty much. Inside, I was very hard on myself. I was very hard with my beliefs, very like, it has to be this way. If you think I'm not good enough, I'm not good enough, and it's true, and I'll prove it. Or I'm not loved, it's true, I'm going to prove that I'm not loved. I was very inflexible. I really didn't want to change, nor I thought I wanted to change, but I wasn't open to it. So I would just say from here, oh, I want to lose weight, I want to feel better, I want to change, but not in here. I was very lazy and a procrastinator, and I denied this for a long time. I was very, very lazy. I would always wake up very late, like at 12 or 1 p.m., of course, before I had my daughter. Later, I had no choice. But just, it's the truth. I was just lazy. I had a lot of self-rejection and self-hatred because of the combination of all of this. Like, I didn't understand why I was feeling the way I did. I didn't know what to do with it. And then I'm in a body that I didn't like the way it felt, the way it looked. If you look at this picture here as well, it's a better picture where you can get an idea of the belly that I used to carry. I mean, I'm talking a hanging, full-on hanging belly during those times. So clothes were uncomfortable. Everything fit very weird. I didn't like going shopping because it moved all of this emotion. So I was more angry. I mean, it was a whole thing. And then I had a lot of physical symptoms of food abuse. I have to be honest, because of the anger, because of the pride, I began to abuse food in a way that was very destructive. So I never experienced any bulimia or anything like that. It was just binge eating and in large amounts. I did a video about this that's called how overeating can be a form of violence. And I share how I would eat like those big pies, like cheesecake pies from Costco, all in one sitting. I cannot even finish one slice now. I have no idea what I was doing to my like digestive system because I don't know how I would survive. But I would tell you, I would live in constant feelings of uncomfortableness in my stomach. I was constantly feeling full. I was constantly every single day having heartburn. Some of you that have experienced that know how horrible it is. It's normal when you experience these things once in a while. Not living like that every day. It felt painful. It felt violent, and I was doing it. And if you're hearing this, and that's why I gave that trigger warning, and emotions come up because you've been here in the past or you're here now, I want you to take a deep breath because these things, we need to talk about them because they happen, because they're real. Maybe not exactly like this. Maybe it's not this extreme for some of you, but it was for me. And that is when I realized I was abusing myself in the way that somebody would experience physical abuse. That's what I was doing. This caused my feeling constantly inside a lot of pressure. I felt all this pressure that I was putting on myself physically, overeating, not being able to move. My heart felt tired. I couldn't go up the stairs. I had no honesty with myself because I didn't even know who I was. I feel like if I would talk to some of my friends from that time, maybe they could tell me more about what's going on because I don't even really recall too much of the experience because I was so lost in all of this that I was living. So I want to make clear there was a lot of self-rejection and there was abuse, and that made my, if you anybody that has ever experienced trauma or abuse in any way, it really challenges your nervous system because you never feel safe. And in this case, the not feeling safe continued to feed the whole cycle, and things got difficult. Now, at some point, I realized like this hurts. I would eat sometimes. I didn't do it too much because I didn't even care, but sometimes I would eat hiding from people. And I was like, you know what? I don't want this anymore. I want to change because I realized that if I don't change, I'm not going to be loved. So when I started wanting to change, I didn't want to change for myself. I didn't want to change to be healthy. I wanted to change in the hopes that I would lose weight and be thinner and people were going to love me and accept me. Like pretty much that's it. Like I did it only for outside validation and it had nothing to do with me. So what ended up happening is what I call the diet roulette. And if you've ever had issues with your weight, you know exactly what I'm talking about. You try every single diet that, to me, a diet means a restriction, or it can also serve as educating yourself. But when you have a lot of unresolved emotions of self-hatred and self-rejection, I was using it to restrict myself, to control more, to like cage myself more, or even punish myself for creating this whole thing that I didn't even understand. So I put some pictures and we're going to go along like kind of around the years. The first pictures were when I was working at Disney World before I had my daughter. I was around 290 pounds. I was in complete denial of everything. I had no desire to change. But then I was like, I want to be loved. I was in my early 20s. I want to get attention. I want to be loved. So I started eating, following diets. And if I would follow it to the T and not mess up, not even once, if I would apply so much control and pressure on myself, I started to see results. So the pictures that you see here is when I was around 180 pounds. And this is the first picture on the top is when I was pregnant with my daughter. I think I was like 3 months pregnant. And the one at the bottom around that first times, the same time. I was very anxious. I was just about to become a mom. And if you just hear the story of what I just told you, I had no idea how to manage my emotions. And now I'm going to be raising a child. So I was very anxious and very afraid of the whole thing, but I was thinner. So you would say, oh, Luciana, I would get a lot. You look great. People wouldn't even know I was pregnant when I was 9 months pregnant because my belly was so much smaller at 9 months pregnant than like some of these pictures. So I was getting a lot of compliments. I was getting that validation that I thought I was searching for. And it turns out that it didn't give me anything. I could get validation and people could be, you look great. And inside, I felt exactly the same like I did like right here. I was angry. Just imagine all of this with the other picture. I was angry, prideful, inflexible, lazy, and everything. And I had different symptoms, not necessarily negative. My body did feel better without the weight. I had positive. That's one of the things that went away, all those negative symptoms of overeating. But I still didn't love myself. I wasn't happy. The moment the weight comes off, if you don't love yourself, you're gonna find something else to obsess about. Like now you're gonna obsess about your skin because it's hanging, or your boobs because they're saggy, or something. Like you're gonna focus on something else because you're not dealing with the core of the issue. And what happens with the diet roulette is that the moment that one thing happens in your life that creates a little bit more emotional pressure, and you're unable to keep track of the control you're applying to feeling better, like or to losing weight, like you're unable to keep the diet perfectly or exercise exactly like you need to, the weight comes right on, like this. So from 180, I went back up. Like, I mean, I couldn't put it all here because it was so many. I went up to 240, to 20, and I don't know, because I didn't weight myself too much. But some of the pictures here are around me being around 220. So I was living in the 220s and 230s for a while. So maybe many of you, you've met me during those times. So I never went back to being close to 300 pounds. I felt good about myself that I was able to like keep off 50 or 60 pounds permanently, because I've never gone back to that. But I didn't love myself enough to cross the barrier of still identifying with being overweight, with still having to have the issues of, I don't like going shopping. Now, before it was for a size 28, and now it was for a size 16 or 18. But I was so obsessed still with the story that I was telling myself that I needed to continue to live the same scenario. So just change the size. I still felt the same in a dressing room. Okay. So together, and this is also for me, I'm going to invite you to take a deep breath. Maybe as you're listening to me speak, you can relate. Maybe you cannot relate. But anytime we are talking about emotions, even if it's listening to somebody else's story, our emotions in some way, even if it's super subtle, become triggered. And it becomes an opportunity for you to observe and feel. So whatever you may be feeling, sometimes it's judgment, right? Judgment, me being overweight and obese, I would judge people that were overweight and obese. And then when I lost some weight, I was like, why are people overweight and obese? Like very ignorant, judging, because I had unresolved emotions. So that may come up as well. So after the roulette for years and years and years, I started to do emotional work during this time. But one thing happened that I want to make clear to everybody, and it's my hopes of why I want to support people. When I started doing emotional work, I started doing it for the same reason that I started dieting, to just make my pain go away and make things easier in my life, but not for me. So a lot of the years, and I have to come out and say this, that I was doing emotional work, it was very superficial and I wasn't really trying to resolve anything. Like if life got really hard, then I would look at my emotions, but then if other times, if life wasn't super, super hard, I wouldn't. So that created my progress, which there was progress, to be very slow. Okay, so this is important for me to say. If you really, really want to begin to transform your relationship with your emotions, you have to really do it, and do it for you. Not just once in a while, not just when it's convenient. Like you have to really, really do it. But after doing a lot of the dieting roulette, and right now we're going to get into feeling, I finally, through trying every diet, like doing everything everybody told me, realized that there's a secret to weight loss. And obviously a lot of this is extremely sarcastic, but I had to say it because, right, like if during those times somebody would say there's a secret, I have a secret for you, it's like, oh my God. So I even put the little colors you see here, they're like confetti for me, because it's like, yay, I found the secret. So tell me, what is it? Just eat healthy, like eat real food, move your body, and rinse and repeat. And it's like, I remember people telling me this and it would make me super pissed off. Like I would get angry and I would be like, how do you know? You don't know what I'm living. You don't know how I'm feeling. You don't know my body. And I had all of these reactions to this. And it's so funny because now I realize like, that's it. Like that is what you have to do consistently. The thing is that you've been thinking, or at least I'm talking about myself, I thought for a long time that the problem was that I hadn't found the right diet, that diets didn't work, or that I was just a bad person and very lazy and I hated myself, and denied the fact that the solution for weight loss is not a secret, actually. It's there, out there. Just Google it and it's there. It's pretty much this. The issue has never been the food. The issue has been how you feel. The issue has been how your emotions affect what you think. And because you believe a story so profoundly, you're acting accordingly because you're a powerful being. So you're like, if I'm not good enough, I'm going to act not good enough. And I'm going to make sure my life is not good enough because I'm right. Because your emotion and your thought validates it and you believe it. So it's so interesting because I realized, and this for me was a big awakening, is like if you really try all the diets, I mean, I did raw food, I did vegan for a long time, I did vegetarian, I did restricted dieting, I did low carb, I did planning like very balanced, where you have your little toast and eggs and like your grapefruit in the morning, and like I did eating 6 times a day and just eating one or two, and I did everything that anybody could, juicing, and everything worked at that moment, but I would not be consistent because my emotions did not allow me to do that. And that is when I realized I had to make a decision, because at that time, if I'm honest with myself, why did I try all of those diets? Why did I did all of that? And I knew the real way. I knew what would work. It's because I would rather be comfortable. I would rather be right. I would rather get instant gratification. I would rather be in control than to be happy and free. And even just telling you this right now, I get like chills, and I feel it because I was a slave of myself. And this is honest and this is true. Yeah, like that is the truth. All diets work. I wish I could now send a review to all those people. It's like, your diet's great. Like, it really works. I'm the one that doesn't want to do it. Like, I don't want to do it, and I don't want to be uncomfortable. I want to stay safe in my little box. And that was my reality. Now, I did get tired, and I want to be honest with yourself. My story, as you are learning, is not like I lost 90 pounds in 60 days. I saw a girl say the other day, I lost, I don't know, like 100 pounds in 100 days or something crazy like that. And I was like, how? And is that healthy? Like, are you okay? But that's not my story. My story, and I always say my biggest breakthroughs didn't happen in like this huge scene, like the most interesting peak climax of a movie. It was just simple moments of repetition, of boring, when no one's there, it's not fantastic. And it happened enough until the transformation happened. A couple of things that took me to practice emotional integration. And I want to just mention it in case some people have never heard of this. Emotional integration is learning to feel your emotions consciously. Another way that we can say this, it's choosing to get uncomfortably consciously. So it's not when life pushes me to be uncomfortable, I'll deal with it. It's I'm going to choose to go right now and sit and feel the uncomfortableness that is there as a choice in order to process it. That is what emotional integration is. Integrating the emotions that are uncomfortable back into emotions that feel good, even though neither are good or bad. Now, for me, like I told you, I started doing this process, and when I was going from 220 to 240 to 200, and I did that whole dance, but I was just doing it very superficially, and I wasn't getting real. And eventually I realized that there was no other option for me than to really, really go deep. I don't no longer want to do emotional work just to feel better. That's an amazing benefit. I want to discover myself. I want to know what's deeper there. I want to know what pushed me to do this. I want to discover what it feels like to accept yourself. Like, I've already lived many years knowing the flavor of self-rejection. Oh, what's on the other side? Like, what's on the other side of that fence? Let's go and discover it. So in order to do this, I sat and felt my shame for being lazy and a procrastinator. And I want to tell you that I chose to write this. I sat and I felt, because I wanted to make the point of sitting and feeling means you stopped and you did it consciously. I didn't just feel my shame for being lazy one evening on a Sunday while I was driving and thought my life was going to be resolved. I consistently sat and felt the shame of being lazy and a procrastinator. I sat and felt my guilt for wanting instant gratification, because I blamed myself for being addicted to just that good, feel good feeling. I sat and felt my addiction to being loved and approved of. I wanted so much to be loved and approved of that I never gave myself a chance. I'd rather lose weight for you than for me. And I realized that wasn't right, and I had to feel it. I'm addicted to love, and I'm not willing to give it to myself, that I'm expecting the world to give it to me. I sat and I felt the rejection of the world and my own, because I received a good amount of rejection for being overweight, of, kids making jokes that I was pregnant because my belly was so big. A lot of things that when others rejected me, because I didn't believe in myself, I said, they're right. So they rejected me and they made fun of me. I'm going to reject and make fun of myself. And I just never questioned it since I was little, and I started doing that. I had to feel my disappointment, the disappointment of things. I felt the disappointment that things were not as I wanted. And I just want to tell you something. When I create these presentations and something like this happens where I just noticed that I like to use everything as a sign, as an opportunity to grow, is that this one I need to continue to do a lot of work on, because I sat and I felt, which I was doing very intentionally, and all the others. So I felt, and I will continue to sit and feel the disappointment of all the things that don't go the way that I want to. And I sat and I felt the self-abandonment, because I have to be honest that I have been very blessed to be very loved by my mother, by my father, by my brother, by my siblings, by everybody, by my friends. It was mainly me, that I abandoned myself. And the key part here that I want to share with you is that I did this for years. For years I did this. It wasn't just on a weekend. It wasn't at a 9-day seminar. It wasn't just for a little bit. It was for a long time. That's why when I created my program that I have now to work with women, it's a 5-month program. And people were telling me, like, that's very long. And I was like, no, it's just enough to really make it real in your life, so the changes can become a forever thing if you really, really want to resolve something. So this whole process of feeling all of this for many, many years was very humiliating. It was very uncomfortable. But I decided to stop hiding behind my emotions and the stories that I was repeating in my mind. And this was the big thing. I had to stop hiding behind the emotions, or even from the emotions. And I had to stop repeating the stories. Because you know what blows my mind? And I don't even know. I'm so into this conversation. I don't know. Right now, I'm going to go check if there's comments. I'm going to go say hi to everybody. But I used to tell myself that I was really bad at having conversations, and that I was really bad at speaking in front of people. And I believed that for so long. And I have like sometimes moments where I'm like, I cannot believe that I'm able to speak in front of people. Like, I really cannot believe it, because I really used to believe that story because the emotion was so strong. I had a belief. The belief was, I'm not good at speaking in front of people. I'm not good at having conversation. And I want to explain to you, a belief is an emotion that's connected, a thought, in this case, the thought or the story is, I'm not good at speaking in front of people, connected to a strong emotion. So the thoughts, they can come like, whatever, any thought can come, and sometimes they feel very like airy, like it could come and then pass and you even forget about it. But some thoughts come and they feel heavy. Why? You've connected an emotion and you've repeated the connection like like a loop so many times that it carries weight. So when you think of that, it feels true and you go, oh, it's true. I'm not good. I used to believe it, but if I would have stayed stuck in that story, I wouldn't even be here. We wouldn't have been able to go through the last 5 months of working in that group of women and everything we accomplished. So I think it's so important to question the stories you tell yourself and ask yourself, why and what am I feeling? I think that is at the core, the most important thing of emotional integration, because I even see people that have practiced for a long time emotional integration. They can go in their pain and sit there for hours, but they haven't yet released the story. So they're still living in the story. And this is important. I had to release the story in order to release the weight. I had to. So I want to talk a little bit about why emotional integration empowers us, why feeling your emotions empowers you, why it's a good thing, why it helps you create change. First, it's because it empowers you. What does empowerment mean? Empowerment means that you feel capable of dealing, facing, and managing your life. As simple as that. Empowerment means that you feel willing, capable, and able, and I forgot and I just said it, to face your life, pretty much. And good thing we're going to have this recorded, because that was a good explanation. It teaches us to take responsibility. This is your life. That was my life. Nobody could come and fix it for me. Nobody could do anything. I had people that loved me, that wanted to help me for so long. Their intentions were great. Nobody could do it. So feeling your emotions and not having to have this inner battle are all, imagine like somebody wanted to come into like your room and you're like, there's no lock or whatever. This is a weird example, but like you're holding the door with your hands. Maybe for like a couple, 30 seconds is good, a minute too, but imagine hours and years. At some point, you're tired of having this constant resistance with yourself inside, and you realize you're the only one that can create change. Facing your emotions is letting go of that resistance. And now, guess what happens? You have available energy. Maybe you feel tired all the time. Maybe you feel exhausted all the time, outside of any physical reasons and what you're eating and all of that. And sometimes it's because you're fighting yourself inside so much that you have no energy to really participate and take responsibility of your life. So you want to, working with through your emotions allows you to have that. It also helps you, like I said, dissolve the lies that we tell ourselves in our mind. And it helps us remove the obstacles in the path towards taking consistent action. What does this mean? Exactly what I mentioned before. A lot of the times, the reason why you're not taking action is because all of the roadblocks that you have in front of you, but that you place. It's because I'm not good enough. That diet's not going to work. I've never accomplished anything. Life is hard. It's only genetics. I know, and I want to say genetics do play a part. There's a whole other side to this. That's a physiological part. I'm not a doctor. I don't know all the details of that, but I know it plays a part. But just believing that in order to block yourself. So you want to take action. And in order to get from where you are to the action, you have to overcome all of that. So that's why it's like, oh, I want to start exercising. Nope, back to the couch because it's like too much work. I'm exhausted. Feeling your emotions allows you to face yourself, to free yourself. And through that process, the most wonderful things happen. I used to laugh at this. I found it corny. I just judged it. But you learn to love yourself. And love starts with acceptance. You learn to accept yourself. This for me was the biggest thing. And loving myself means I have to accept myself. I choose to. I don't have to. You don't have to do anything. I choose to accept myself every step of the journey. Not only when it's convenient, not only when I look at the way that other people are going to approve of me. All the step of the journey, because this life is not promised. We don't know how much time we have here. And at every single moment, your body has honored your opportunity for life. Even when I was severely obese and with all these symptoms, my body still honored me. My heart continued to beat in order for me to have a chance for life. My lungs continue to expand and grab for air. So, and oxygen. So why not love that? But I had to learn it because for a long time I just didn't. I did a little practice that I've mentioned before. Some of you know it, where I did a bracelet of a little bracelet. I don't have mine right now, but it's like a prayer bead bracelet or any bracelet. Like just like I've used my daughter's bracelets, anything, where I would repeat every single day, I love and accept myself as I am. I love and accept myself as I am. I love and accept myself as I am. And at the beginning, when I started doing it, I was pissed. Like I would say, I love myself as I am. And I could feel everything inside me be like, no, you don't. You actually hate yourself. You're not good enough. Like the dialogue would become triggered. And I was like, whoa, whoa, whoa. But I made a commitment because I decided that I was going to try that one thing from the secret of being healthier, eating healthy. Okay. Moving your body. Okay. I was going to go for it. Let's try the consistency thing. Maybe this is where it's at, right? So I did this for 8 months straight, every single day. This is where I met this new thing that already existed, but to me was new, of non-negotiables. It was 8 months. I didn't plan it to be 8 months. I just did it for 8 months, but it was a non-negotiable thing I would do every day. Maybe I wasn't exercising every day. Maybe I wasn't eating healthy every day, but I would do my bracelet. And after a while of like hating it, and it takes like a minute. So it's like the laziest, most simple practice that I could do with where I was, because it was like just 1 minute, And First, it was a lot of anger, a lot of rage, but it helped the emotions come up. And I was like, let's look at them. Let me sit here and feel, why am I so angry at hearing that I love myself if that's what I'm searching for all this time from others? That after a while, the practice, it went from like making me angry to like feeling nothing. Like I would do it, like I love and accept myself as I am. Like it didn't move me, didn't affect me. And then there went more months until I didn't enough and I was feeling enough emotions where emotions that are stuck it's like dirty water. That if you have like a bucket with muddy water and you would put the water hose in there and fill it with more water, first everything that would come up would be all the mud and all the dirt. But eventually the water would become clear. So as I did that and worked through my emotions, I was able to have more space because I wasn't carrying all of that heaviness so much that I started feeling it. But it was subtle at first. Like I love and accept myself. It's like, well, I don't know if I love myself, but I accept myself. Like I'm proud of what I did today. And eventually it grew into something else. Anyways, if anybody wants to try it, you can try it. In my program at the Emotional Mastery Experience, which I want to say, I've been talking about it because I'm obsessed with it, but it's a program for women. And in that program, that is one of the challenges of what we want to do for 5 months. What would change in your life if you do this for 5 months straight? So what happened? What's the shift? So guys, I wanted to take a picture of today. Like I wanted to be, this picture, I took it right before I started this. That's what I'm wearing today. That's me today. So to the world, I mean, right now, the last time I weighed myself, I don't weigh myself constantly. I'm at like 190 pounds. I'm a size 14 or 16 or 12, depending on what's going on. I don't care because of what I feel here, but I wanted to be honest with like an image of how do you look today? Because my story, like I said, it's not 6 packs and like it happened in 60 days. Like, no, it's just I feel better and I'm happy and I love my body. That means I accept myself. And the shift that happened through the practice that I just shared with you is that I realized that I'd rather be happy than be comfortable. What does that mean? I'd rather do the things that in the long term feed my sense of happiness, feed my sense of peace, feed me feel calm and safe within my body and my nervous system than just be comfortable every time, than just eat every single snack I crave. That in itself changed everything. Another thing is that I learned to decide. Many of us that have suppressed emotions for so long, many of us that have wanted to take our place in the world but never did, learned to, not everybody, I'm going to talk about me, but I learned to never speak up for what I wanted. So even if sometimes I wanted to eat somewhere, I would always let somebody else decide. I would always let other people decide. Then the times I would decide, I wouldn't just decide peacefully, like, oh yeah, let's go here. I would do it angry, like, well, let's do what I want, because of all of the times that I never spoke up, then I became like very like that anger was coming up. So I was like, if I decide I thought it had to be like very intense instead of just peaceful. But I learned to make choices. I can choose if I want to eat that snack or not. Not the snack, not my emotions, me. And that was powerful. I can decide that I don't want to wear black. It's uncomfortable. I don't like it. It's hot, especially here in Texas. I want to wear green and brown. I don't know if that's the color, but like that's what I want to wear. So I'm going to wear it. I want to wear shorts. I never wear shorts because of my cellulite. Now I'm like, oh my God, I'm so grateful for my legs. My cellulites are adding to to the outfit, and I still do it because it feels good. But I had to decide that I wanted to. Before I didn't wear shorts because other people were like, don't wear shorts or your cellulite, or I would hear other people go like, oh my God, my cellulite. So I assume because I'm not deciding anything, I should do what they are doing. So that was a big thing. I learned to trust myself and the process. And this was built from learning to decide because I was deciding I was in charge. And I want you to see the difference. I wasn't trying to control. I was open and flexible, but I was in charge, not in control. I don't want to control. I want to be in charge. So then I started trusting myself like, oh, I'm here. For so long, I've been wanting everybody else's love and approval. I'm here. What about me? I can lean on myself And that practice of the 8 months also taught me to trust the process, because every time I've done a spiritual meditation process, I realize and I learn why there's like a little formula. There's a practice that you can do a meditation to calm your mind, where you fix a point that you do it for 10 days for an hour. I did it for the 10 days for the hour. My breakthrough happened after the alarm rang, after the 10th day, after the hour. I found a peaceful state. It took 10 days. So it's like, trust the process. Why are we trying to get that instant gratification? If it takes me 8 months, if it took me 12 years, why was I trying to rush it? So, and then we have that the other shift that happened. Every time I say shift, I feel that I'm saying another word, but I'm not, okay? So the shift that happened is that now I know. I don't think, I don't feel, I know I can be successful. I know I can be successful at anything that I put my mind to. I never know exactly how it's going to happen, and I never know exactly when, but I know I can. And it comes from that always showing up and following all the steps above. Another thing is that I finally realized and I found peace with everlasting or lasting persistence, which I also call as consistency. And lastly, I honor my non-negotiables. Now, if I tell myself that I'm going to do something, like, I really honor it. It took me a while to practice this, but it's like, and there's a little tip, a little exercise that I do for this that I'm about to share with you, that I haven't really shared with that many people, that helped me practice my non-negotiables. Because for a while, I didn't know how it felt to say yes and say no. So I had to learn to live in those feelings to recognize them. But the biggest thing is that I genuinely love and accept myself as I am. And I remove the judgment that loving yourself was arrogant, that loving yourself was egocentrical. I think you get it, that it was maybe it's that egocentrical. That loving yourself was selfish. I had to realize loving and accepting yourself is required. It's part of being alive. I was going to say it's required to enjoy life. It makes you feel you're not alone in this journey. Your journey, your story, nobody knows it as well as you. Even when you work with somebody, when I work with my clients, I always tell them, I wish sometimes I could do things for you, but I don't even know the story, your story, and what you need like you do. That's why I'm all for teaching people to become autonomous in their own self-help or healing journey, because you know things that nobody else will know. And I love and accept myself as I am, where I am today. When you see me in the street, I will not, even though I'm making a video about weight loss, I won't be the smallest girl in the room. I have stretch marks, cellulites, all these things that before were such a big deal, and now it's just like, I love them. Like it's not it's a non-issue. It's a non-issue. And I realize that when you love yourself, you find people in your life that come into your life that love you and accept you. Through not loving myself, I've attracted partners that didn't love me, or that judged me, or that had a reaction to me and how I looked. Through loving myself, I attracted partners that appreciate how I look. People base how they feel about you first scanning how you feel about yourself. So if you're insecure, people can really tap into those insecurities and be like, well, she doesn't even love herself. Maybe I shouldn't either. And it starts there. So don't wait for somebody to love you, for you to be okay. Be the example. Why are we waiting for somebody to do something we're not doing? Be the example. And I want to tell you, my journey is far from over. I'm not going to feel like I say like, I've arrived somewhere. But I can tell you one thing is that my journey will continue to change. I don't know in what direction. I don't even want to say, because I don't know. And I have to be honest. But what matters to me is that I don't feel the way this girl right here felt. This girl, hold on, right here. I don't feel like that. Like when I see her, I appreciate her. I don't hate her. I wish I could just tell her like, hey, I got you. Like, you did your best. You're doing your best. but I'm not hiding. I don't feel insecure or afraid or uncertain. I don't feel shy. I don't feel submissive. I don't feel like blaming people. I rather first observe, hey, what am I doing before blaming others? And sometimes I still do. I do, but I try my best to catch myself when I do. I experience disappointment. I get angry sometimes, but I don't live there anymore. I experience pride. I don't live there anymore. I try to be more flexible than hard on myself. I try to be more in movement than procrastinate, even though sometimes I still do. And I love myself. You know, my body feels better. Like there's a lot of things that are different. And even though I haven't arrived anywhere, because I feel that the arriving is at every stage of your journey. There's no final destination. So yes, so this is where we are. Now I know certain people still have the question, okay, this sounds all so cute, but let's be real. What did you do to eat? Like, how do you change your diet? So I want to tell you a little bit of the progression of what really helped me when it comes to exactly like what diet did you follow or what did you eat. It all started for me probably 2 years ago or a little more when I decided to cut sugar. This came for a recommendation for PCOS and for PMDD, premenstrual dysphoric disorder, PCOS, to lower sugar. I heard a lot of people saying when you lower sugar, the symptoms lower. So I started to lower sugar. Sugar, sometimes we can confuse it. It's not the white little powder. I pretty much cut out all of the processed stuff. And I started eating what I call then a keto diet, but I have to be honest. I just call it that because I lower the sugar, but I never 100% follow a keto diet because I never measured anything and who knows how many carbs, yeah, and how much fat I was having. Like it had no structure. I was just calling it that, but it was pretty much lowering the sugar. I chose to continue to eat meat, and I'm going to address this in another video. I am an ordained Buddhist priest, and I choose to eat meat, and that is controversial for many people, but it was a choice that I made. So yes, so after doing that for a while, I realized that I was able to hear my body more, and I started to introduce more healthy carbs. So it's almost like my diet balanced each other out. I started to introduce more healthy carbs, more fruits, healthy carbs like sweet potatoes and fruit, pretty much. And I would buy, I have to be honest, like low carb things like low carb tortillas or things like that. Low carb cookies, yeah, that's processed, but I would also get that. And that started to push me to say like, okay, that has helped me lose some weight. I feel better about myself. It's very sustainable. When I don't eat a lot of sugar, I don't crave sugar. And I'm very satisfied with like a salad. Yeah. So it's interesting because I'm eating less. I feel very satisfied, but I started realizing that my body needed nutrition. So I started to follow, and I just want to put it out here, all of the protocols, many of the protocols and supplements from the medical medium, drinking celery juice and all of that. So my journey is not over. As you can see, I'm still discovering and seeing what's going on. I'm honoring what my body needs because my emotions are not so loud anymore that I can actually hear what my body needs, and I'm discovering it. So I would recommend for you to research about how or look at your diet, how about lowering your sugar intake, or reading into the medical medium books if you want to, and always consult your doctor before you do anything. So we're getting to the end, guys. I know this was long, or I don't know. I don't even know if this was long, but yeah. So feeling your emotions will not save you from your story, but it will open the path for you to finally show up and make it better. And I want to be clear with this because sometimes I feel that certain people come to me and they say, oh, Luciana, teach me, teach me, teach me. And they had this idea that it was magical, right? It's like, oh my God, I'm going to feel my emotions and everything's going to go away. It's going to take a long time. You're going to change and transform completely. And through it, you're going to have so many benefits, but it will not save you from your story. You will still have to face your story. You will still have to choose to transform it, but it will open that path for you to show up for yourself instead of being so distracted, paralyzed because you don't want to move, afraid, hiding because you don't want to look inside yourself, or fighting constantly with others and the world to not face what you feel. So it will open the path to do that. Now, before we go, I want to share with you the practice of the yes and no. This is the little tip that I want to give you. It led for me to become a weight loss practice. But when you start, you're going to do it just for you, to get to know yourself, to discover something about yourself. And for a while, maybe months or even years, it may have nothing to do with weight loss, even if it feels connected. So the practice is called the yes and no practice. I don't know if this exists anywhere else. I came up with it myself one day, and then I started doing it. It's learning to touch the flavor of being uncomfortable and be willing to be uncomfortable and live it and feel it, and to taste what is the flavor of owning up to your decisions and making decisions. That is the goal of this practice. How it works is that every single day, and this is the way I connected it with food, but I guess it could be used to about with anything. You're going to choose one thing in your diet that you really crave. Like when you don't want to plan it. Like let it be organic. You're sitting there on the couch or like doing something, and your significant other goes like, "Ooh, let's go for one of those coconut ice creams. Like they're so good. Let's go grab one, or let's just order some pizza." And your craving comes. And every single day you're going to say no to a craving. The answer is no. And maybe it has nothing to do with them. You're alone on the couch and you are like, "Ooh, I'm going to go get a chocolate bar from, the kitchen." And the answer is, "I really want it. Like I want it. I want," and you start, their body starts feeling it, almost tasting the chocolate. "I want it." No, it's a no. And you're not going to have the chocolate. Let's say that example. You're going to breathe and feel how everything within you wants it, how you want the instant gratification. Breathe through the fact that it may even be a physiological craving, meaning you've eaten so much sugar that now your body had a crash and just wants more. But you're still going to hold that no. And another point of the day, giving yourself at least an hour of separation to process that, you're going to say yes to something that you want. You're going to choose something that you want. You're going to practice in one same day, not getting something that you want and getting something that you want. And you're going to live them both fully without guilt, without anything. And you will feel whatever comes up. So people will say, "Luciana, that's never going to help you lose weight because you said no to the chocolate to say yes to the sundae." Like, and I know, but for me it was a big thing because it helped me practicing yes and no. And at some point I started saying more yes to actually things that were healthier for me, and found it easy to say no because I had practiced so much. So this helps you build a sense of self-trust. Just experience not getting what you want, and you also experience getting what you want. It helps you observe emotions, and it helps you practice consistently. So I want to challenge any of you that may want to try this to do this. If you practice it, please let me know the outcome. Let me know if you have questions. I would love to hear your story. And through all of this, certain things can be transformed, like I mentioned, but there are certain things that I completely refuse now. That before were my home, it was where I used to live. My insights were built out of the walls of the opposite of everything that I'm about to say. But now it is a no. Learning to say no through the yes and no also helped me refuse these things for my life. I refuse to be violent with myself. I don't diet. I don't allow myself to dwell in negative dialogue, and I do my best to not self-sabotage. Can I get inspired by a certain way of eating? Yeah. Can I sometimes catch myself in negative dialogue? Yeah, but I do my best to get out of it. I don't live there anymore. The violence doesn't come because it happens one time. It's when it becomes constant, and you live there every single day that it becomes heavy. I no longer, and I completely refuse to go a day without consciously feeling my emotions. And this is a thing that a lot of people underestimate, but every single day I breathe and I pay attention inside and I pay attention to how I feel. I refuse to do it alone. I'm okay with reaching out for support now. I'm okay to having a community to reach out to. A lot of my friends, and all of you know who you are, the people that started this journey with me 10 years ago, I've leaned on you so many times. I've seen you grow. I've seen you break through your walls. You've seen me grow, and having a community helps you. Don't assume you're going to do it alone. I refuse to not honor my truth. Everybody's truth has a place for them. Everybody's truth, I find, deserves to be respected. But I honor my truth. And it doesn't mean, for me, truth doesn't mean no longer being locked in a box. Remember, it's no longer just prideful. Pride, it's more being open to listening to that inner knowing inside of me. And I refuse to abandon myself. No more. I lived that already for many, many years. And now it's time to switch it up. You know, now people tell me I'm going to be getting closer to 40 than 30. So I'm like, okay, we've lived it enough. Now let's do it differently. Okay. So, and I said that because I'm 35. So my perspective, I'm closer to 30, but some people tell me, no, you're closer to 40. And a last thing that I want to tell you, whatever you're going through when it comes to emotional work, don't wait. Don't wait to start any other time. Start today. I always say the best time to do emotional work was yesterday. The next best time to do it is today, because it's going to take you years. It's going to take you a long time. I want to tell you, the results I see, for example, in my clients and in my students is so much quicker than my results that I had, because a lot of it, like I told you at the beginning, I didn't want to do it. I didn't want to ask for help. I didn't want to learn from people. So I closed off and I wasn't being very effective. But when you decide to do it, and then if you have support, it's even quicker. Whatever you decide to do, start today. Don't wait. Don't wait to see 6 more months to see where you are, or a year from now, your life not being where you want to. Start today. Now, I'm not going to go deep nor guide you through a long thing, but I want to put this in here in case anybody needs it. Luciana, how do I start to feel? This is something you can do right now. You always start by, I call it paying attention inside. This is a phrase that my meditation master, he always says, pay attention inside. But pay attention inside means I first start with my breath. I began to feel present in my body. And I honor whatever sensation I feel. And I'm there with it. I don't try to analyze it. Before I started this call, I told you I'm feeling vulnerable, because I didn't want to put in a box what I was feeling, but probably I could identify fear. I could identify a layer of wanting to be loved, not wanting to be rejected. And I just felt it. It was not dramatic. I didn't lose myself in the story. I just accepted it for what it was. So just breathe, be present in your body, feel and accept what's there without judgment. You can do this at any time, whenever you want to, starting right now. So before I let you go, I want to tell you one thing. If I have learned anything about working with people, if I have learned anything about my practice, is that we can all do it. There's no special people. There's no special stories. It just really requires you being willing to get uncomfortable and step outside of your boxes. So I want to tell you that I believe in you. Whatever thing you want to do, whatever you're trying to accomplish, I believe in you. So I want to invite you to make sitting with your emotions a daily non-negotiable. Begin practicing the non-negotiables. Do it for 10 minutes if that's all you can do or all you want to, but don't wait, because it's like washing the dishes. If you don't sit with your emotions, they accumulate, and before you know it, it feels very overwhelming when it was something simple. Ask for help if you need to, okay? If you're feeling overwhelmed, reach out, ask for help, find a community, find a group, find something that can help you feel supported. Remember that change is possible. If you need a new affirmation, or you've never done affirmations and you want to start, repeat to yourself every day, change is possible. My boxes in my mind are not 100% the truth. Let's discover what's outside of that. For any of you, and for this part I'm very excited, that are open or want to learn more about emotional integration, and this is for women that want to really learn to use mindset work, emotional integration, and meditation to create deep transformation in your life. The second group, the enrollment for the second group of the Emotional Mastery Experience opens July 10th. That is less than a month from now. If you're interested, I would love for you to join us. So I know some of you have shared with me that you've been wanting to join. I'm doing some giveaways for the people. If you're going to join, I want to invite you to join on that first day, even though the enrollment will be open for a week. But because anybody that joins that day, I'm going to put them in a giveaway to get a planner and some other goodies. So mark your calendars. I want to tell you two things. Thank you for listening to this. Thank you for being here and sharing this moment with me. Know that you're not alone. If you need anything, you can always send me a message. If you have questions, and let me know if there's anything specific that you possibly may want me to talk about in the next call. So I want to do another one of this next week. So let me know if there's anything specific you would want me to talk about. And now that I took off that screen, I just realized that Maple is back there. She's so cute. She looks adorable. So yes. So does anyone have questions? Does anybody want to share their story? Susie, how are you? Oh, Susie, yeah, I know. She says, this is beautiful. I understand the violence of overstuffing myself. Yes, I know how difficult it can be. Paola says, is meditation the same as emotional integration? That's a really good question. I like to answer with a yes and no. And okay, Paola, you are the one that requested this class. I hope it was useful for you. You have just inspired me to maybe use the class next week to clear some things out, because emotional integration uses certain aspects of meditation, but it's different in many ways. So I'll think about how to come up and with something and explain those things next week, okay? But it's different. So there are aspects that are the same because emotional integration has an aspect and a foundation of mindfulness, but it's different because a lot of people associate meditation with just peace and calm. Emotional integration is the way this was described to me when I learned it is my meditation master said, we're going to hell. And I was like, what? I almost had a panic attack. What did that mean? Oh, that's a very dramatic way of putting it, but it's I'm going to sit with my painful emotions to be able to be there with them. So yes, thank you for that question. I says, thank you for sharing, Luciana. You're an inspiration. Thank you so much, Aymet. Thank you. I appreciate it. If there's anything that any of you or you, Aymet, that you feel would be useful to share, because I know sometimes there's questions of things that could be useful for others. Give me ideas because I'm an open book. Like I really want to come out here and share as much as I can. Susie says, so when we sit and feel, how long does it last or what do we do? I'm a little afraid to feel. That's such a good question, Susie. Well, for the first one, how long does it take? It's different every time. Now, for anybody to start, we can just start, like I mentioned, like today. I will say that I find it useful to, at the beginning when you're starting to have guidance, because when the body and the mind yet don't know how to do this, like they don't know how to do the practice, the mind becomes distracted very easily. So how long would it take? Sometimes it may be sitting with an emotion 10 minutes. And when you go and feel it, what happens is that there was so much resistance not to feel that most people, what they feel is they go into the fear, let's say, and it's uncomfortable. Fear may make your heart beat a little faster, may make you a little uncomfortable, but you go and you breathe through it. You understand you're experiencing fear. You are not the fear. The fear has no power to harm you. The experience while you're feeling it is uncomfortable. But because you're not resisting, like a layer of relief and peace and space begins to come. But sometimes, Susie, it takes 10 minutes, but there's some emotions that have been so heavy within us for so long that it may take sitting with them for an hour a day for months. And that's the thing. But the thing is that it's not as ugly or negative as it may sound. A lot of people tell me, like, I went and I felt, and they're like, oh, like I thought it was going to be so much worse than this. But it requires the practice. I know that you will be joining us for the course, Susie, and I'm so excited to support you 100% to help you understand this in any way. But if you have any more questions before then, let me know because I want to support you. It's normal to be afraid of feeling. Know that it's okay to feel the fear, but the emotions are not going to harm you or hurt you in any way. And when we start learning how to feel, like I mentioned, the story changes because a lot of the pain is because we're so holding on to the story so much. Like, they did this to me. I'm not good enough. I'm not good enough. So, no matter how long I sit there and feel my own self rejection and just feel a little better, but if I keep repeating to myself every day that I'm not good enough, the emotion continues to be like fed and it continues to grow. So, it's a combination. That's why I learned not only emotional integration, in my program at least, it's emotional integration, but it's a lot of mindset work and it's a lot of concepts of meditation because the meditation helps you recharge with connecting with your consciousness, expanding your awareness. The emotional integration teaches you how to feel your emotions, and the mindset work helps you transform your story and motivate yourself to take action because nobody else can do it for you. So I hope that was helpful, Susie. If you have questions, let me know. Any other questions or anything else that anybody wants to share, please leave them here. If you have any ideas about anything else you would want me to talk about, also let me know. But that is all I have for you today. Thank you so much for being here with me because this was something for me. This was something important. But yes, I hope all of you have a beautiful day, and I will be seeing you soon. Bye.